We did go to the Department of Health in Hawaii. Yes, they did call the police on us. Yes, they didn't want to talk to us, but we did sit down. And we sat down with Jill Nagamini, a deputy attorney general for the state of Hawaii. And I told this story once, but I'm going to tell it to you again because it's got great importance. In the dialogue that went back and forth, it was very clear to Detective Makowitz and I that this was a no-go topic for them. And in that dialogue, I proposed in the exchange to an attorney. I said to her, if I gave you a copy of my driver's license, because for some reason it needed to be displayed across the World Wide Web, and you took that driver's license and you made a photocopy of it, but you changed some stuff around, and you put it on the web, have you displayed my driver's license? Now the proper answer is no, that's an altered document. Her answer to me was, but you still have a driver's license. That was alarming to me. That was alarming to me. The next follow-up from her was, does the public have a right to see your driver's license? Which I responded, if I say I'm going to proffer it publicly, they most certainly do. And they most certainly do be assured that it's mine. Those set off alarm bells. Both Detective Makowitz and I walked out, we're walking on the sidewalk, thanking God we didn't get thrown out by the cops because they were the biggest two cops I've ever seen in my life. And we both concurred, there's something wrong here. They're avoiding what we were asking, and what we were asking was this. We already knew that they had released this verification. This verification and other verifications like it are cleverly worded to give you the impression that the verification is verifying the image that you see up here. That is not the fact. They are verifying the information in whatever you show them. They are verifying that there is a birth record on file that has this information in it. Well, when you start to study the Hawaii statutes, you realize there are ways to amend a certificate that turns the real certificate into a sequestered record in another file, and the amended information now becomes the original birth document. And that could happen 54, 64, 100 years later. So what they're saying to us is, we're not validating that image, we're just validating some of the stuff in it. Legally, truthful answer, but also misleading, because you have no way to determine, was this an amended certificate? I want to jump real quick to the birth announcements that are in the paper. I contacted the microfilm company that has them. I have them in microfilm. There is an oddity. I will grant you this. There is an oddity. In that section of the paper, those birth records from one newspaper to another are completely identical in positioning. They're identical. And in the other sections of the paper, they're not. That honestly is suspicious to me. It truly is. But the other thing is, there's been no paper ever surface. No hard copy Arizona paper from the time period has ever surfaced. We can only go by the best evidence we have, and those look good. When I was in Washington 4 times, I went to the Library of Congress, checked those out. They're in there. But here's the problem with those. They don't tell you anything. Hawaii law says that the Department of Health in Hawaii must create a birth certificate merely on the representation from anyone that a birth has taken place. It doesn't tell you anything. Somebody just reported it. So let's give that benefit of the doubt. Let's say that's true. Now you run into Kapolani Medical Center. Kapolani Medical Center we visited. I would have rather been thrown out by the cops than a Kapolani Medical Center because they told us to get out. They told us they're not going to deal with this. This is nothing that they have to do. We're a private organization, and we have no authority there, and we're not going to help you. Okay. We've gone to 2 places that could have cleared this issue up. I tried. Nobody would cooperate. We come back. We're still sitting here now with this document. We interviewed Johanna Ani twice. In both those interviews, I'm not going to go into the details of those, but I'm going to let you understand that Johanna Ani maintains that her birth certificate was in her possession since 1995 in her locked file cabinet, and the only time she took it out was at a request of a friend to show it to Jerry Corsi. Jerry Corsi does confirm he took possession of her document, but it was about 10 days after the release of the Obama certificate. Now, obviously, I'm not in Hawaii, and I can't pursue this any further. So Johanna Ani is not a suspect. There's another woman, Mickey Booth, who's been labeled a suspect. She was the friend. She's not a suspect. These people that go out and say these things should really watch what they're saying. Those people are not suspects. However, Johanna Ani is still an investigative lead as far as we are concerned, because I can't validate the rest of the story. But we're in possession of the document that is a source document as far as this is concerned. I am going to play that video one more time. I think I'm just going to play it one more time in its entirety. Then I'm just going to show you the conclusion in our video, and I'm going to turn this back over to Sheriff Arpaio. But what you're seeing here is the information is taken, the stamps were taken, the X's were taken, and I've got two different forensic examiners concurring that it's fake. It's a fabrication. This carries federal penalties. And understand one other thing. The state of Hawaii has done everything they can to stay away from validating that image. Oh, let me back up. I went and spoke with Secretary of State Bennett back when the ballot challenge was going on. And if I remember right, he was in that challenge before we even got involved. We had nothing to do with this. And I do believe he was trying to do the right thing. But he sent a number of letters back and forth, and they kept stonewalling him. And then he got a phone call. And according to him, from Hawaii, he was told how to reword his request. Well, what that does is that takes the request and puts it in the category of a validation of a birth event in lieu of issuing a certificate, which made it easier for them to validate it. And when you read these validations, you got to read through them. There's another validation out there, I think it was in a Mississippi court case, where in the validation, it even puts the White House website address in it. But you got to read what it says. They're not validating the image. They're validating the information. And we have no idea how that information got there. Simple to understand the dilemma, because the Director of Health previously says she saw the record in a bound volume sitting where it should be on a shelf. The incoming governor can't find it. And they look for it. And now they can't find it in this bound volume. Now they find it in the state archives, half typed, half written. Well, which was it? Was it in the bound volume? Or is it sitting in a pile of papers? And then all of a sudden, it mysteriously makes its way back to a bound volume. We have no idea what's on that birth certificate. We have no idea if there was a birth certificate. We have no idea if somebody just wrote something down and through some nice legal maneuvering created a birth event. We don't know. We just simply don't know. We don't know where Mr. Obama was born, nor that was not something we're here to find out. We don't know that. We don't know if he's a natural-born citizen or not. I don't think the country knows what the definition of that is anymore. That wasn't anything that we were pursuing. We're pursuing the document. So let me play this one more time for you, because it's getting late. I want to show you this evidence all over again, and I really want you to sit back now, think about what I just shared with you, and see how this comes.
From the state of Hawaii. According to the dates on the certificates, these births took place in Honolulu during the month of August in 1961, just 16 days apart. The birth certificate on the left belongs to Barack Obama. The birth certificate on the right belongs to Johanna Ani. After 5 years of intense investigation, which included consultation with one of America's most respected forensic document examiners and a team of European media forensic experts, the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office has reached a conclusion utilizing forensic techniques both old and new. It is the opinion of the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office that the birth certificate on your right belonging to Johanna Ani was in fact used as a source document in the digital creation of Barack Obama's long-form birth certificate. 9 points of forgery in which words, letters, and hand-placed date stamps had been digitally copied from the Ani long-form birth certificate and pasted onto Obama's long-form birth certificate. We'll look at the first 5 points of forgery together, since they were brought over from the Ani document in one group.
I really want that to sink in. These were taken as one group. That's why relationally they are proportionate to each other. That's a key factor here.
Now let's drop out the Ani document as a background and view that again. Now let's look at the date stamps in box 20 and 22. In this case, the stamps were brought over one at a time. But as we do this experiment, ask yourself, what are the odds that 2 stamps in 2 separate boxes, stamped by hand 16 days apart, would have the exact same angle in box 20 and the exact same angle in box 22? First, we'll look at the left stamp. Now the right stamp. It should be pointed out that these stamps were looked at by 2 separate document examiners who specialize in 2 separate forensic disciplines and who reside on 2 different continents. Both agreed that these angles are identical on both the Obama document and the Ani document. Let's watch that again without all of the background clutter. It should be noted that Susan and Gretchen Nordike were born 5 minutes from each other and have consecutive serial numbers. Therefore, their date stamps ostensibly would have been put on back to back. But as you can see, looking at the leftmost date stamps underlined in red and looking at the rightmost date stamps underlined in blue, there is no similarity in terms of the angle of the date stamps. How ironic that Barack Obama's birth certificate and Johanna Ani's birth certificate, which were stamped 16 days apart, are identical in angle according to 2 separate disciplines within the world of forensic document examination, and yet the Nordike twins, born 5 minutes from each other, stamped back to back, don't show any similarity in angles. We've made a number of references to angles so far. The reason for that is if you're going to take an item off of one document and place it onto another, the angle is going to remain the same unless you intentionally alter it after you place it on the second document. Watch.
Here's what we think we know about that. Whoever created this document wasn't thinking about angles or relationship to other things. That was the giveaway in the date stamps. What that is telling you is no matter where you place that date, its angle of trajectory will be identical. It will be the same unless you manually go in and change it. This was one of the things that began the free fall of this document collapsing upon itself. The position of words, by using a small x as the point of reference and dragging them all over, this individual wasn't thinking about their relational positions.
When you have two separate documents with two hand-placed date stamps at the same angles, it should be obvious that a forgery has taken place. For the next example, we'll need to zoom in a little bit. Now we are going to focus on boxes 6D and 6E within the Obama PDF. Both X's were taken directly from box 6D in the Ani long-form birth certificate. In fact, not only was the X pulled over, but the box itself was pulled over, and various parts of the line on top of the X were also pulled over, according to forensic document experts.
Those little X's, one of those X's was used twice. That's why they appear twice on the Obama certificate. It was the same X from only one box in the Hani certificate. What the document examiner Reed Hayes noticed was the X was above the box, but the ink was bleeding into the word on top of it. That's why they had to take the box, the X, and the word, because she couldn't separate it. So obviously, this document was a template of some sort or a source. We're not entirely sure. I don't believe it was a template because of the positioning of these things. What they did on the date stamps, they didn't change the angles, but they just merely set them a little higher in the boxes. That was how they thought they were concealing it, but it doesn't change the angles. So I'm not sure what the document was. We know it's a source. We're a safe bet on that.
Next, we'll drop the ID document out of the picture, except for the items that were used to create the Obama birth certificate.
And that would have been the X utilized again. Again, this has nothing to do with any kind of computer forensics that we previously encountered. This has nothing to do with a 7655 copier. This has something to do with somebody that had a knowledge of cut and paste and Photoshop and God only knows what else. But unfortunately, those items, by forensics determination, 2 different disciplines, 2 different continents have come to the same conclusion. I guess that's a meeting of science. I guess that's something you say. I don't even know. But it's like a meeting of 2 minds. They both concur. And they came to that conclusion with different scientific principles. We're pretty confident in these results.
Now let's take a look at all the items that were taken from the ID document and used to digitally create Barack Obama's long-term birth certificate. white date stamp, which are both at the exact same angles as their counterparts on the document, even though they were stamped 60 days apart. Doesn't it just make sense that Alvin Onaka's stamp and the April 25th date stamp were listed someplace also? Ask yourself this question. If anyone presented you with a document in your life that was this suspect, would you readily accept it, or would you begin an intense vetting? Be it a house title, a car title, a piece of currency, anything. Would you accept something this suspect if presented to you in your life? If you answer no, then ask yourself a second question. Don't the American people have a right to vet the documents that they are presented by public officials? The following experts were consulted in preparation for today's report. Reed Hayes is a court-qualified handwriting and document examiner whose business is located in Honolulu. He has nearly 40 years of handwriting-related experience. Reed is a board member of the Scientific Association of Forensic Examiners and has co-authored 5 books. We also consulted 4Labs, a modern-day multimedia forensics team in Italy that specializes in analyzing data retrieved from multimedia files. We had 2 experts in 2 continents from 2 separate disciplines of forensics that came to one conclusion. Barack Obama's long-form birth certificate is not authentic.
I want to point 2 things out before I turn this over to Sheriff Arpaio. Here and here. The presumption has to be that the state of Hawaii did not create the PDF file because they don't create PDF files. Legally, they can't create PDF files. It's also been said by the governor when these documents were purportedly released that these were handled in no different fashion than anything else. Yeah, okay. Those 2 stamps have to have been brought in either by a lift or by a stamping themselves, like a stamper. And we actually did go out for 25 bucks. We had a Kiko's make us Alvin Onaka stamp, no questions asked. We got a Bates stamper. The safety paper background, this green background. During this investigation, I interviewed a number of different states' vital statistics directors and their fraud investigators. We identified the safety paper used. I called the manufacturer. They confirmed for me that they are the manufacturer for Hawaii safety paper. To put this in contrast, the safety paper you see on the Barack Obama certificate could actually be replicated by what's called a swatch and replicate pattern. And we did that. We're not sure if that's what happened here or the safety paper was just scanned in and used. We're not sure. However, in talking with Department of Health officials, 2 things came to light, and I'll use Arizona as an example. Arizona safety paper, back in 2012, so maybe it's 10 cents instead of 7 cents a sheet, but Arizona safety paper has a plethora of security threads and controls built into the document, including every sheet of paper is individually serialized. So that means that serial number of safety paper has to correspond to the registration number of that birth certificate. Arizona safety paper, I was told by their fraud investigator that if you can get that for 7 cents a sheet, but on the black market, 1 sheet of Arizona safety paper costs $500 because of the way it's protected. Comparably to Hawaii, we bought 500 sheets of this particular safety paper by the same manufacturer for 52 bucks, and then I really got mad when I went on eBay and found the same stuff for $11. You can buy this for 500 sheets for $11. I'm going to tell you this, and these professionals did agree with me. The safety paper problem, the lax birth certificate protocol that's uniformly followed throughout the country is severely lacking. This document, you could not have seen it in this fashion had the safety paper in Hawaii just been comparable to Arizona's. So something that we are going to ask for going forward, and we're going to pursue this politically, is we would like to see at least a standardization of security paper for birth documents that meet at least the standard of Arizona. If not, they can come up with something better. Because birth documents, to make a birth certificate, it is insanely easy. Trust me, we were fabricating them for 5 years. A printer, some paper, a template, Microsoft programs, a couple stamps. And let me tell you one other thing. The hard raised seal on the Obama certificate that the only person in the world said was Savannah Guthrie, who was ushered into a dark room to behold the certificate and felt the raised seal. There's a problem with that. That's okay, Bob. I won't hold it against you. There's a problem with that. Our analysis team has looked at that. One of the points of fabrication of the PDF file is a clipping mask that has been manually placed around the document. It's like a border. When you remove that mask, there are 2 pencil markings under the mask that it's been concealing. Also, that document has a very unique ghosting around the letters, which we were not able to replicate exactly in all our tests. The Savannah Guthrie document, not only does it display that unique ghosting, but it does not display the pencil marks that should have been there if it was an original hard copy document, because the pencil marks were applied after the document was scanned in. Ford Labs also concludes that this document started as a PDF file, was printed out, and then rescanned, which is an anti-forensics technique. Additionally, the PDF file has no integrity to it because all the metadata has been erased. The metadata is the life history of building the document. It's missing. The document is utterly unreliable, and the document is inauthentic. We also discovered, and I'm not going to get into this because we really have to go, AP distributed White House photos of the birth certificate, purportedly that they took while they were there. Those are not AP photos. They are White House handout JPEG images created by the White House. That means the White House has the ability to create JPEGs. In those files, those JPEGs were altered by Photoshop. Why are you creating Photoshopped enhanced JPEGs when you just have to take a picture of the document and put it up on the web? This document has been created. It's digitally been created. It is not real. The biggest question is, why? So that concludes where we are in this, and I'll bring this back to Sheriff Arpaio, let him tell you where we're going from here, and we'll go from there. I'm going to shut this down for you, Sheriff.
I listened to this 5 years ago. I said one thing: show us the microfiche, show us the birth certificate, then we'll all go home. Where is it to this day? Very interesting question. I don't have the answer, but somebody should have it. So I plan on turning over this investigation this month to the federal government and Congress, and hope that Congress, number one, will pass a law that presidents should be vented. Common sense. I think what's happened in 8 years will kind of prove what I'm trying to get should be passed. Maybe some members of Congress will hold some hearings open to the public regarding this matter. I kind of look at this, being a federal guy for 30 years, if they can hold hearings. I'm not trying to be sarcastic. I'm just trying to send a message to Congress. If you can hold hearings on underflated footballs, Why can't you hold one on this? Can't believe it. So, and look at our evidence. Look at it. Just look at it. This is tough for me to say. Believe me, all you media know me. Sometimes I get diarrhea of the mouth. But I'm telling you right now, we're not going to answer any questions. There's more sensitive information that we have regarding this matter, and I'm not going into it. So I want to thank all the media from coming here. I hope we enlighten you of what the real story and evidence is all about regarding this fake birth certificate. Thank you.